Talon Commander Ratchis clicked his beak with annoyance as his aide adjusted details on his rarely used dress uniform. He hated the way it constrained his plumage. He hated the reminder that he had diplomatic as well as military duties. He hated that, today, those diplomatic duties involved having tea with Fleet Advocate Rule on the human civilian Convoy flagship. Humans were notoriously pacifistic, but John R. Rule rose to the rank of Fleet Advocate over this particular convoy by being a zealot on the topic. Humans divide the galaxy into 3 zones. Near Earth, the stars within 100 or so light years of Earth, between which there have been no interstellar wars in anybody's memory. Far Earth, the space more than about 1,000 light years from Earth, where human explorers are few, and Ratchis would not denigrate the space in between where his people lived by calling it the human name. In this sector, human merchants and proselytizers move through a dangerous place of violent aggressors, all the while depending on allies like Ratchis's people, the Oskin, to protect their convoys. The Oskin had once been as aggressive, expansive, and imperialistic as everyone else in this sector, but 30 or so years ago a young commander named Philoplume made a name for himself by successfully defending a planet of civilians, a mix of Oskin and humans, against overwhelming odds. He always attributed his victory to extraordinary good luck, but nonetheless he is now Admiral Philoplume. Ever since that fateful battle, he has proudly worn the mantle of non-aggression, learned from the humans he protected. Under his command, the Oskin will defend, but not attack. Thus it is that, after the neighbouring Strix smelled weakness and instigated a war, an ambitious and rising Oskin military officer, Commander Ratchis, finds himself tasked with guarding about 30 human ships with a talon of only 7 escort destroyers. In his view, his career is on hold as he wastes time out here in the black, having tea with a bunch of damn pacifists. His shuttle docked with the Sauron, and Talon Commander Ratchis was escorted to Advocate Rule's day cabin, a lounge space with couches, a small conference table, and a desk. An emblem on the wall behind and above the desk showed a gloved human hand clutching a branch of green leaves. Ratchis was no diplomat, and he couldn't quite suppress his reflexive scoff at the pithy slogan along the bottom of the emblem. Peace is our profession. Advocate Rule, sitting at the side of the table rather than at the desk, raised an eyebrow. Admiral Philoplume speaks highly of your leadership and the willingness of your people to follow you. The question is, to follow you where? Save your peace is the only past speech for someone else, Ratchis replied, ignoring the proffered cup of tea. I am a warrior. I seek honor in combat. There is no honor in killing, only in saving. When you lead your people in the defense of those who cannot defend themselves, only then does the warrior warrant the honor you seek. What do you know of war, pacifist? Ratchis scoffed back. Advocate Rule set his own teacup down and said, You think us weak, but how long would Near Earth have been at peace if we were weak? Pacifism is a luxury only the strong can afford. Walk with me. He then led Ratchis deep into the ship. The massive round room that Commander Ratchis found himself in erased in an instant any notion that he was on a mere freighter. The room had subdued lighting. All around the edge, humans sat at multi-screen consoles, wearing headsets and communicating in quiet murmurs. The screen showed tactical maps, alphanumeric data, and graphs that meant nothing to Ratchis. The scale became apparent when Ratchis realized that nestled in a depression in the center of the room, there was an exact replica of the entire Combat Information Center on his own flagship, the Hallux. He carefully walked down the ramp to it, followed by Advocate Rule. Turning, he said, What is this place? This is the Sauron's Battlespace Management Center, or as we call it, the Ring. From here, we integrate all of the sensor information from every ship in the fleet, including ships of your Talon, as well as ships beyond sensor range of the Convoy, and certain other assets. From here, we command the Wraiths, small short-range fighters that are so stealthy that even we can't track them. Instead, we plot their assumed position by dead reckoning, and our confidence in their operators' abilities to follow orders. Do you see the blue diamonds on that tactical screen over there? Dozens of Wraiths are launched from our carriers. Excuse me, I meant bulk cargo freighters. The Denthor and the Gladriel. in anticipation of an attack of this convoy by a Strix battle wing. We are pacifists. From rings such as this, we pacify those who aspire to aggress. Around the inside of the ring, where the ceiling domed inward from the circle of human operators, Ratchis noticed an inscription. 1 ring to guide our friends, 1 ring to watch the skies, 1 ring to track our foes, as each in darkness lies. Looking again at the displays around the room, he asked, "What makes you expect an attack on this convoy, and with an entire battlewing no less? Would the Strix not attack with just a raider or 2? Advocate Raw smirked. "We have an asset we call Smeagol. Smeagol's specialty is locating Strix intelligence assets inside Oskin space, and then whispering to those assets precious-sounding information that we want them to have. We are pacifists. We only defend ourselves. But we find it much easier to defend ourselves if we can control when and where the aggressor would choose to attack." Then, pointing to another tactical display, Advocate Raw said, "A Deep Space Ranger, the Strider, confirmed the track and composition of the inbound Strix battle wing. 16 combat ships, including 3 heavy cruisers." Commander Ratchis was aghast. "You baited them into attacking us? I need to get back to my ship. How much time do we have?" "They will be within sensor range of your ships in about 15 minutes. Then holy hell is going to erupt. It should be epic. You wanted to be a hero, here's your chance. 7 against 16, protecting the convoy." "You're insane." "Tell me, Commander, how effective are your weapons at punching through the Strix energy shields?" "If we can swarm them from every side, we can wear them down. But when we are at a numerical disadvantage, the Strix have the ability to transfer all shield projection to one side of their ship, making it almost impossible to punch through. Their cruisers will eat our destroyers for lunch. And while they are enjoying lunch, Commander, their backsides are waving bare in the void. A Wraith is small, but it's all weapon. 1 or 2 shots can take out an unshielded ship. You do not have time to get back to the Hallux, but you can command your Talon just as well from our replica CIC. Better, because our tracks will be overlaid with your tracks, so you'll be able to see where the Wraiths are. Command your ships with confidence, and enjoy watching your officers and crew experience extraordinary good luck." With those words, Advocate Raw handed Commander Ratchis a memory device, the kind used to hand-carry encrypted orders of the highest security. Commander Ratchis plugged the memory element into his own pocket assistant, and scrolled through the contents. "Authenticated orders from Admiral Philipbloom. I am to lead my Talon in defending the freighters while not divulging, directly or indirectly, to any of my officers or crew, what I have seen on the Sauron today." Looking up at Advocate Raw, he said, "They will think it is a suicide mission, or to defend another species' freighters." Advocate Raw nodded. "Today, we find out who has the courage, the discipline, and the honor to do what is right when right is at its hardest." Commander Ratchis dropped angrily into the command chair of the mock CIC, and growled at the humans occupying the other chairs, where his own staff would be. "You, send a broadcast to the Talon with my authorization. All ships are to beat to quarters. This is not a drill. Protect the freighters at all costs. And you, get me separate direct channels to the CO on each ship. They are to stay in contact with me at all times." How could Admiral Philipbloom have forced him into this predicament? He could not abandon the convoy without ending his career, and likely getting shot for desertion. But if the so-called Wraiths that nobody could see were a human hoax, then his entire command would be wiped out. Admiral Philipbloom was demanding an act of faith, or faith in a group of pacifists that Ratchis despised. The commanding officers of the ships of the Talon, other than the Hallux, simply followed the given orders and prepared for imminent violence, as they had been trained. But Captain Taris was currently sitting in the command chair of his own CIC, and therefore knew that Ratchis was not sitting there. This resulted in quite a verbal dance, as Ratchis tried to assert that everything was under control, and no, he couldn't say where he was commanding from. If they survived the day, Ratchis just knew the debrief was going to be diplomatic hell. Fortunately, the Strix battle wing got within sensor range of the Talon, and Captain Taris got too busy not crapping his pants to engage in further annoying conversation. Strix battle strategy is to try to engage the enemy one-on-one to gain maximum benefit from their directional shields. Oskin battle strategy is to swarm individual ships, moving from one to the next. so it must have been very confusing to his captains, thought Commander Ratchis, when he ordered maneuvers that seemed to play directly into the Strix strategy, spreading out to form a thin line between the arriving Strix and the unarmed freighters of the convoy. Only Commander Ratchis, sitting in Sauron's CIC, could see that 2 or more wraiths were lurking on the opposite side of each Strix ship from the defending Oscan destroyers. One after another, as the destroyers futilely fired their best shots into the Strix shields, the wraiths used those shields' energy dissipation plumes to cover their own fire against the Strix ship's exposed flanks. Watching the massacre unfold, Ratchis tried to imagine what his people were feeling as, ship after ship, the Strix just popped. Time after time, the fatal explosions would begin aft, near the Strix ship's power plant, and propagate forward, consuming the vessel in a rolling wave of fire. When the battle was over, every Oscan destroyer had taken at least some damage, 2 of them seriously enough that human freighters were moving in to help carry them through FTL to get them back home. But the Strix battle wing was no more. Only a lone auxiliary support ship survived, fleeing the carnage as fast as it could. The Halax took a few shots at it before Ratchis ordered Captain Taris to break off pursuit and return to the convoy. Commander Ratchis could see that no wraiths were assisting in that attack. Ratchis turned to Advocate Rawl and asked, "Why do we let the support ship go?" As a pacifist, I could point out that it is only lightly armed and not a threat. However, the real reason is that somebody has to provide an eyewitness account, or Strix High Command will never accept that a single talon of escort destroyers destroyed an entire battle wing. Commander Ratchis replayed the battle in his head, imagining it as it would have looked to the captain of the surviving ship, a support ship standing well back from the battle itself, its sensor recordings being the only surviving record. This was not a battle, this was theatre. Strix High Command will pore over recordings of their ships exploding, and drive themselves crazy trying to find a presumed design flaw that isn't there. These pacifists were masters at misdirection, but he clenched his beak as he looked over the incoming lists of injured and dead among his talon, also the humans could preserve their mostly harmless image. Advocate Rawl, seeing where Ratchis was looking, said, "This way helps to protect all the Oscan. With the eyewitness report, the Strix will hesitate to attack any Oscan convoy in the future, regardless of whether there are any humans around or not." Ratchis clenched his beak. Turning to Rawl, he said, "I don't like you. I don't want to be your friend, but most of all, I don't want to be your enemy." Then, looking at the inscription around the Ring of Sauron, he said, "The Strix cannot fight an enemy they do not know they are at war with. When enough Strix have, in darkness, died, they too will see that peace is the only path. On that day I will call them enemy no longer." Advocate Rawl smiled. "I see that Admiral Philoplume is right to believe in you, Commander Ratchis. Let me be the first to congratulate you on your upcoming promotion into the ranks of the Oscan High Command."